So I'm curious, what do you think makes for the perfect everyday watch? For me, it's got to be tough, have some form of water resistant rating, and last but not least, it needs to look good in all situations. So with that in mind, let's see what I can put together. What is up everyone, I'm Jason from jb.watchmods and today I'm going to be building my perfect everyday watch. Now obviously this is highly subjective as the perfect watch is different for absolutely everyone. But for me, there are a few must-haves. Now, when I'm wearing my watch, I don't want to be scared of marking it or scratching it. So for me, a stainless steel case is an absolute must. And it also needs to have a sapphire crystal just to add to that ruggedness. As well as being tough, I also want it to be comfortable. So having a slim case is a high priority for me. It also needs to be water resistant. Now, it's not like I take my watches swimming every day, but I don't want to have to worry about it getting wet if I do forget to take it off for whatever reason. Now, obviously, the perfect watch needs to be reliable, so having a good movement at the heart of this watch is absolutely essential. And last but not least, it needs to look good in all occasions. That means classic, timeless design that pairs well with any outfit, and ideally, I can put it on any strap and it is still going to look good. With that in mind, let's take a look at these parts. So the movement I have picked for my perfect everyday watch is a Miyota 90S5 movement. Now this comes from their premium line of movements, the 9 series. Now I've gone with this movement because first and foremost its thickness. It is super slim and comes in at 3.9mm, which will allow me to go with a thinner case size. And it's also got a beat rate of 28,800 vibrations per hour, which will give me that super smooth second-hand sweep. Now, because I've gone with that slimmer Miyota movement, I've been able to slim down my case size. So I've picked the Miyota field case from jb.watchmods. Now this case is a 38mm diameter with a 46.9mm lug to lug, and its overall thickness is just over 9mm, which is absolutely awesome. And it's also got a flat sapphire crystal with a clear AR coating. Absolutely perfect for what I'm looking for. So I've gone with a vintage inspired explorer style dial, and I think it is a timeless design that should go with just about anything. I have got my logo printed on this dial, and if you want to find out more about that, check out my Patreon page, which is linked in the video description. Now I've gone with classic Mercedes style hands, again an absolutely timeless choice, and last but not least, I'm putting it on a Jubilee bracelet. Now, this watch should look good on just about anything, from leather straps to NATOs to Jubilee bracelets. So I'm really looking forward to how this is all going to come together. So let's jump into the build. Okay, so this is our beautiful Miyota 90S5 movement, and here is the dial that we're going to be using. Now this dial was designed for an NH35 movement, which means that the dial feet on the back won't work for this movement. So what we're going to do is cut the dial feet off and use double-sided tape to stick this dial to the movement. Now I use side cutters to remove the dial feet from the dial, and this always leaves small nubs on the back of the dial. So I use a Dremel with a grinding stone just to file the back of the dial nice and flat. If you don't have a Dremel, a small file will work perfectly. Then make sure to give the back of the dial a good clean to remove any metal filings, because the last thing we want is those metal filings going through the movement. So now that our dial is prepped, let's grab our double-sided tape and cut some small strips to stick this dial to the movement. Now I like to use bezel insert tape because I've got plenty of it lying around, but there is a product called Dial Dots which is effectively the same thing. It's double-sided tape made specifically for sticking dials to movements. Now I'll leave links for both of these products down in the description below, as well as all the parts that I'm using in this build. So if you do want to build this watch for yourself, check out the links in the description below. Or if you want to buy this watch already made, I'm planning to have it available on my website in the not too distant future. This watch that I'm building is just the prototype version, so once I have all the small details worked out, it'll be up on the website, so keep an eye out. So I used 3 small pieces of tape spaced evenly around the movement to stick this dial down. And so far it's looking pretty good. But if I'm honest, I'm a little bit nervous about the tape holding down this dial on the movement. Now, don't get me wrong, I've used this method to hold down dials countless times before, and I haven't had any issues so far. But I'm erring on the side of caution today, so I'm going to put a few extra pieces on the movement spacer, which should hopefully keep everything nice and secure. And when it's all cased up, there'll be pressure on that movement and dial holding everything together nice and firmly. So now that we've got our dial on, we can move on to fitting our handset. And first up is our hour hand. Now there's no date complication on this movement that we need to worry about, so we can go ahead and set our hour hand at the 12 o'clock position. And I'm just using my rotoco here to nudge that hand to get it perfectly aligned to 12 o'clock. But it isn't critically important at this stage, as the hour hand isn't in sync with anything at this stage. And once I've got that hand pressed on, I like to take a closer inspection just to make sure that that hand is sitting nice and flush. And once we've confirmed it looks good, we can move on to our next hand, which is our minute hand. Now it's at this stage that we need to make sure that our hour hand and minute hand line directly up at 12 o'clock, as these hands are now going to be in sync with each other. And like before, once we get that hand pressed on, it's time to double check everything just to make sure that both hands have the appropriate clearances and everything lines back up at 12 o'clock. And everything's looking good, so we can move on to the last hand, which is our second hand. Now this can be the hardest part of building a watch if you're a beginner. So my advice would be to take your time, make sure you have good lighting and get the movement at eye level. These 3 things will make a massive difference when it comes to setting the second hand. And in case you were wondering, no, you do not need to set the second hand at 12 o'clock. This movement has a hacking feature, which means you can stop and start the second hand at any time by pulling out the crown. Now our movement assembly is complete, so it's at this stage that I'm going to remove the dummy crown stem. So there's a small button which needs to be depressed when the crown is pushed in order to pull that crown stem out. Now I use my ring finger to pull the crown out while pressing in that little tab. It can be a little bit fiddly, but with a bit of practice you'll get there in the end. Once we remove that crown stem, we can put the movement to the side and grab our case. So it's at this stage that we're going to prepare our case to accept our movement and dial. And to do that, we need to get our crystal absolutely spotless. For me, the best way to do that is with a lens pen and air blower. And once we're happy that everything is looking nice and clean, we can fit our case over our movement and dial. And I like to press it down nice and firmly just to make sure that everything is seated as it should be. Now we can go ahead and remove our crown from the case and fit it to our crown stem. So first off, I'm going to do a trial fit without any cutting just to see how much of this crown stem we need to cut. And it's looking like it's roughly 10 millimeters too long. So what I'm going to do is remove that crown stem again, remove the crown and cut around 10 millimeters off this crown stem. Then we can recheck it and see how it's looking. Now you would be better off measuring that crown stem with a set of vernier calipers if you want to do it the correct way. But I've been doing it this way for a few years now and it seems to work for me, so that's the way I do it. But with that said, it is always worth keeping spare crown stems on hand just in case you do cut one too short. So take 2, and it still looks like we're about 3 to 4 millimeters too long. It looks like I was being a little bit too cautious, so let's give it one more shot and see if we can't nail it this time. And after cutting that crown stem, I used my Dremel just to file down the end of the threads to make sure there's no jagged edges that could damage the threads inside of that crown. Now I'm feeling pretty confident, so I'm going to put some Loctite on the threads just to prevent that crown from ever coming loose. And once that crown is fitted to the movement, I like to check it by making sure that I can get all positions on the crown. That is, winding the movement and setting the time. And finally, the crown needs to screw flush into the case, which it does here. So let's move on to the next step, which is fitting our caseback and caseback gasket. Now, I always lubricate the caseback gasket in some silicone grease, just to help prevent that gasket from pinching when I screw down the caseback. Now this case has a groove in the case itself in which that gasket sits. Just be aware that some cases have the caseback gasket fitted on the caseback itself. Now we can finally fit our caseback and seal this watch up. Now we are on the home stretch, which is fitting our bracelet. Now this bracelet isn't suited for this case, so it did take a little bit of modification to make it fit. All I needed to do was elongate the holes in the end links that the spring bars go through, which I did with a small file. Then I was able to pop the spring bars through and into the case with no difficulties. So now that this watch is just about done, I'm pretty excited to see how it's going to look and wear with this slimmer Miyota movement. I think that smoother sweep of the second hand should be a nice touch as well. Don't forget that I'll leave all the parts and tools that I've used in the description below, or head over to my website to check out my range of watches. But now let's run some B-roll and see how this watch looks. That is going to do it for today's build. I would love to hear in the comments section below what you guys thought about my perfect everyday watch. And more importantly, I would love to hear what your perfect everyday watch is. Now, I know this watch isn't going to be perfect for everyone, but for me, it suits me down to a T. So if you've enjoyed this video or gotten anything out of it at all, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video.